What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines, the town of Santa Rico, with our Let's Play Season 2, episode number 24. Yes, 24. I was right, although I did double check. So, what I wanted to do was show you a couple little things. I've zoned off some space over here. Let me do this. So we made this this kind of landscaping change here to plateau this. And I've done a little leisure district over here, some entertainment for the college students, and it's kind of separated on the other side of this highway and 6-lane road, so that should be okay. Should be spaced out enough from everybody else where it will bring in some happiness but won't cause any concerns. I don't know that I watered it. Let me do that while I'm thinking about it. Looks like we were pretty good for coverage there, just a little bit extra needed. We will possibly need to run some power over here. And I can do that from right across the road here, because I've also started to zone off a little bit of commercial in our college campus, and I thought they could use some coffee shops, a public market. So this is all low density commercial that has also been applied the organic and local produce zoning specialization. So I made that part of the Nason district, and then this district over here, which we want to be leisure focused, is going to have its own little district here on top of the hill. So just a little change there that we did to address some of the zoning. We still need to find some space for some more office parks, and maybe we could plateau over here, build some streets in behind. We could probably cram another block in there, and we can definitely build over here by the airport where they don't mind the noise as much. We could extend down here. So those are all some ideas that we could drop in. I'm keeping the episodes a little bit shorter this week because my wife and I are on a staycation, and we're doing some projects around the house, trying to make the most of that time. But I still wanted to do the daily videos, doing a little bit of building here or there where we can. But what I wanted to do today was plan on eventually turning on disasters. We may run it in an alternate save so that we don't necessarily destroy our city. But I want to start planning for disaster response. So that's what today's episode is going to be all about. I didn't notice until I did the edit that in the very end of the last episode, we hit 150,000 population. Let's pause it for a moment because I want to address that demand before we get too far ahead. But I want to talk about emergency services, disaster response. If you're playing with natural disasters, you would have been building this stuff into your map all along, but I wanted to kind of cover these things. So the first thing is a disaster response unit. So basically this building sends out trucks to help clear, and helicopters, to help clear rubble, rescue survivors. They handle disaster aftermath and burn down buildings. So after they've done their work, the ground is free for rebuilding. So they should, as far as I know, auto demo buildings. Now, if we were to drop this down, basically, it doesn't have service coverage like some of the other buildings do. Right? You're just putting that down. They send out the trucks from there. So where is a nice central spot that isn't too zoned off where we can drop this in? We might be able to drop it in here. Can we get up closer to the highway? It's a huge building, unfortunately. I didn't plan ahead for this. If we could cram it in here, it looks like we could if we move those rails. That might not be too bad because at least it's on this main avenue. They can send out the trucks, go hit the highway, and get everywhere from there. So let's put this rail underground. And we will start even way back here before the highway and just bury this segment under the road here. That will actually free up some of the zoning that got a little funny down this way. So we could do that. Let's break out our rails. Let's fix that first, and then we can talk about placing in some of these disaster response services. So over to trains, rails. We'll go straight here when we will try and do a nice straight shot under the highway. Then I'm going to go to my curve tool and connect it in this way. Ooh, we kind of need to snake it around. Let's do this. We'll come just on the outside of the train lines. So that we can get past the city, get past all that zoning, and then we'll come up from there. and connect that in. We will delete one more segment so that it's a little bit smoother of a curve. So we haven't impacted our train routes at all. A little bit of a bend there. Could fix that with Move It. Very simple on the PC, unfortunately. But I'm not going to nitpick that right now. That kind of opened things up down here. Before I forget, let's zone this off. This was all office space here. And we could, if we wanted to. We have a ton of industry demand. Let's get some bigger buildings to move in here. So we'll move some people out in the short term. But that will fill out that block a little bit better with some big buildings. We could always sneak a couple more streets in back here, and then maybe angle some 45s that way. All this truck traffic, man, it's bad. What we will eventually do is we'll follow some of these trucks, see where they're going, and then maybe do an underpass from here that links up maybe to the highway down here. You know, depending on where they're going, we might be able to give them some faster express routes to get around the city. But that is pretty good for right now. Let's take a quick restock of just kind of where everything's at from a very high level. Tons of electricity, no problems there. Water, constant battle, but we can keep adding plenty of intake pumps. We're running out of room for sewage pumps on this strip, but we should be okay there for right now. Fire safety is a little bit in the red here. Pretty good overall. It's a little bit bad on this block because they have to come all the way around, then zip back around. We could improve that if we wanted to, by just simply doing something like this. Let's do this. We'll go straight from here to here, and then we'll change the direction of it. Did not need a tram track there, so let's upgrade it. Then let's change the direction. Okay, there we go. So now if we look at fire coverage, a little bit better. That may have not been worth it. And now we've got buildings zoning in there. I take it back. Let's not do that for right now. I'll figure that out. We'll smooth that out. We have the money. We could even throw some fire services maybe up here, so it's a little faster for them to come around those other sides of the block. Or at least down to this block, I should say. Okay, I get sidetracked. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about underneath where the fire departments are. We've already dropped in our helicopter park for fire, which when combined with the fire watch towers looks for things like forest fires. And you can kind of see where your coverage is in the red right off the map. Can't do anything about that. But we've got pretty good coverage with the fire watch towers. If we jump over to the next tab, though, this is where we can start to put in stuff like our disaster building. Space already occupied. Oh, highway there. So we'll do that. That's good. Would like it centered a bit more. Maybe we could hook these highways out just a little bit, bend them around it, or maybe even just carry this tunnel down underneath, have it come out right there so we can center this more. That actually may not be a bad idea. Won't affect any of this traffic flow, and it gives us more room to zone and build up here towards the corner of the map. Let's do that. Sorry, like I said, I was trying to not get sidetracked, but I think that's a pretty cool idea right there that will help us. So let's bring out our straight tool. Let's demo this. And let's go straight down from here. Just connect that right up. And we'll do the same thing right here, and that'll free up a ton of room and allow us to put that disaster response unit kind of more central to the block. So I'll do this and I'll reverse the direction on this piece. And then we can just connect straight underneath from here to here. So that buys us, let's see how this stuff sink into the ground. There we go. And now let's move this and center this a bit better. see what it looks like right about there. I know it's not centering the property, but it's centering... Nope, it's not centering that building. I went over too far. That's pretty good. I like that. And based on the demand, those office buildings will move right back in no time at all. How's our zoning over on this side? We de-zoned a little bit by making those changes. We could bring some streets down and around here and do a little bit more office park over here. We have a ton of demand, but that is not what today is about. We're not getting sidetracked anymore, except to... No, not move. Stop emptying. And we'll empty this one. And then we'll stop getting sidetracked. Unless there's any other icons that are flashing at me. That's good. Okay. Done getting sidetracked. For real this time. Not really, but we'll try. So we've got a disaster response. That'll send out trucks if we have a disaster, once we turn them on. The next challenge is providing shelter coverage. So if we look at the small shelter, this is the one you unlock first. This can only support 1,000 people. So we would need, what, 150 of these? Would not be very fun. The slightly larger shelters support 10,000. So we need 15 of those, if my math is correct, at least, to cover the bulk of the population. 16 technically. So we want to kind of spread these out. They have a pretty decent footprint, unfortunately. We want to kind of spread these out so that people can get into them from all different parts of the city. So unfortunately, this is going to tie up quite a bit of zoning space. But we want to provide them every so often that people have routes. So that is 3. Let's do one over here. Can we get this in? We can tuck this in right behind the cemetery. 5. Let's do one up in the hills here across. Will it let us do? Nope, slope too steep. And cram it in right next to the recycling. De-zone as few people as possible. Maybe we'll even throw one down here, since we can. Let's see if power's spreading there, or if I broke that. Power's spreading just fine. That is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see kind of the road coverage too, right? Just like the other city services, people from this area are going to have trouble getting to that disaster response. Can we cram one in right next to the... Of course not. Pretty big building. Somebody's already going in there. I don't know if they know something we don't know. Relatively green coverage for most of the roads up here. We do have space up here that we could tuck this in, I think. Yeah. So we've got kind of loose zoning up here, so that should work. This could be a little tricky over here. It'll let me put it right there though, so that's good for our college students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we definitely need a ton of coverage over here, so... And again, we'll see where we can cram it in without de-zoning too much. Right there would be good. You know what? Let's move this. And we'll put another one right on the other side of that block, because we've got plenty of space. Because we also have a ton of leisure, and we're making everybody happy around here. We can spread this around the map just a little bit. Let's see. We could go kind of up here on the way up to our prison road, which will eventually be... Let's throw it right here. That way we don't have to kind of de-zone over here. I need to get in the habit of flattening lots before I drop some of these structures in. Back to our disaster response. We've made some extra room over there, and it doesn't help the road coverage as much, but there's a lot of people down here in this part of the city, so Thinking a little redundancy is not necessarily a bad thing. It looks like we can't overlap with Metro, though. Oh, we can. Oh, it can't. Oh, I was right on top of the Metro station. I'm an idiot. So let's do that. Let's see if that creates... Does that create a stoplight? It does. So we are going to want to go and review our intersections at some point, and we'll pay particular attention to where we've dropped in those, because I know, like, up here on the 6-lane roads, I took off all the stoplights. That's adding a new one in. We don't want that. Let's see what we can do up here. We can just get that in. So let's do one there. And what is this building? We can move this fire department and cram another one in here, because this is a pretty big pocket of citizens. I don't know if it's 10,000 strong, but perfect. We can get it right there. Let's see what her fire coverage is like. I may have put it up there for a reason. No, we're still in the green. We should be good. So back to our shelters, and we'll drop in here. So how many is that? Somebody's been counting, and I lost track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Technically, that is enough, but as you can see, we've got residents that live over here and in here, and they don't have good access right now. So let's see what we can cram in and where. Well, hopefully moving as few people out as possible. That'll move out 2 buildings. That'll move out just 1 at the end of that street. I'm not worried about the commercial buildings that I'm knocking out as much. So there we go. We've got that. Where are we kind of lacking coverage? Up here. Not a lot of residents over here. There is a fair share over this way. Let's do that and then find one more somewhere up here. So I'm pretty happy with that. There's enough shelter that a lot of the population can get shelter if they get warned in time, and that's what our next couple pieces are all about. So you have these radio masts. So the short one just has less range. Mast height 100 meters. This one is 220 meters. So it's a tall mast, better radio coverage, and terrain can hinder, but it's less likely to be a problem because it's that much taller. Now you can see if we zoom way out, it has a massive area of effect. This does not have to be, or in fact cannot be on a road. It's just something that you put kind of off to the side of the map. So let's put one in right here. And with it playing, it should show us where that broadcast signal is and where it gets kind of lighter. We could see where else can we cram this in. So we should have room on the shore here. We can rotate it around a bit using the D-pad or right-clicking and dragging left or right. So that covers that pretty well. And then we can throw one more over here by the airport because there's nothing that pilots love better than tall things that they might accidentally crash into when they're landing or taking off. So those are pretty imposing, as you can see. But that should cover the bulk of our map. I guess we need to cover 2 more to get it really good at least. Let's see if we can find one right here. We can always move these around after the fact. We'll put one in down on this side of the map. And maybe we'll look at... Kind of need some coverage over here, huh? Let's not forget the industrial workers. If they're at work, we want to warn them too. I wonder if the prison gets evacuated. To find out. And then can we get one right here? We could always do a smaller mast just to cover this area. See, it is much smaller, less area of effect. I'm not sure what we think about how that changes the look of our city, but it certainly helps with the safety of our city. Now, I did just realize we need to add some power coverage for this one that's kind of way off in the middle of nowhere. Because right now, that's not going to get power, so that's not going to help us. I was going to say, I think all the others are powered, but now we see that was incorrect. Oh, I have to power a bunch of these. Wow. Okay, I was really missing the boat on that. I'm glad I double checked this. So are we missing any? That looks good. I don't see any power notifications. Think we're good there. So now we can warn people once we find out about the problems. How we find out about those problems is a little bit further down the list. So you have the earthquake sensor, $43 per week, $3,500 cost. Seems pretty cheap to me, that detects seismic activity. So this will cover you for sinkholes and earthquakes and show the approximate location of the disaster well before it's happening. So that is a nice thing, and I think this has an area of coverage as well, but you can see these don't need to be next to any roads. If they do need to be powered, we'll do that just to be safe. And we can kind of tuck these in wherever, which is nice. So right there. That's pretty good. Let's throw one over here. Casinos always have lots of money. I'm sure they want to keep that business up and running. And then we're not using this space, so why not throw one in there? They're pretty small. And that gives us really good coverage for earthquake and sinkhole detection. I didn't forget the industry. I was getting there. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry, guys and gals. So that gives us really good detection. We don't have anything over here, but now we do. So we should be able to detect an earthquake coming in pretty much anywhere on the map. As you can see, it covers pretty much the entirety of all the tiles. Apparently can even detect it off map. Next thing is the tsunami warning buoy. So this one is basically monitors water level, sends out a warning if there are changes, so we can prepare. I don't suspect a tsunami is going to be that much of a problem, because usually when they come in on maps with rivers, for example, it doesn't tend to flood as much because the wave kind of cascades along the water. If a tsunami came in from out there, whew, man, would that would be awful. That would be pretty bad. So let's throw one here. I don't think these have areas that they cover. I think they just cover the water in general. So we'll throw one here. And that gives us a warning buoy. If we just want to be safe, and they're not that expensive anyways, I'll just, for the heck of it, let's throw one on this side too. And we'll throw one over here for the next time I adjust the pipes and cause my own tsunami, man-made. Maybe it'll warn us. Tiny little buoy. We've got... Where do we put the earthquake sensor? I kind of want to see this thing up close. We got a couple suggestions. Helga, the Hill Cougar. I liked. We got Larry as well. We still haven't named this Hill Cougar, but it's the unofficial town mascot. Checking out the earthquake sensors. Let's fly back over. Let's get a sense for how big these radio masts are. So if we go back into cinematic and walk, man, they're pretty big. Pretty huge. Let's go see what that did to our skyline from our fancy house. The tennis court and the bouncy castle. So you can kind of see the tower tipping up over the hill there. They're pretty narrow and unimposing. So I can deal with that. We finally have a second house that moved in over here. So you can see it's a greenhouse with solar panels. Ooh, and a pool. Don't try this at home. Especially since it's apparently just a cement block. Don't jump off a 3-story roof into a cement block. Even if you're a cougar. So, okay. Sidetracked. Back to more disaster services, because there's a couple more, 2 more that we have to put in. There's the weather radar, which is going to warn us about thunderstorms and tornadoes. Again, this covers the entire city. It does need to be roadside, and I think a good spot for that would be over here next to our observatory. This really has to go. This doesn't belong on this block, because the other piece that I want to put in is the deep space radar. And this is going to give us early warning for impact from asteroids, or meteors more specifically. So we could, I wonder if I move this, if I could put it kind of side by side. Let's see, where will it let us place this? Will it let us place this up here? Because if I do it right there, it's kind of blocking, it's kind of being a douche, because you're blocking the view of the observatory. So maybe we could extend this road up to the very edge of the map and try and get it in up here. Just so there's a little bit of clearance there. But it also, I think, has a nice look and feel right next to the observatory. That works. This just doesn't belong, so we'll move that at some point. So we've got all of our detection systems in place. So when we eventually do turn on disasters, I was thinking of starting a new season with it. If you saw a couple episodes back, though, Adia sent me a clip that was the disasters cranked all the way up, and there's 7 tornadoes hitting her city at the exact same time. So that may be a little bit tough if we were trying to build the city from the ground up on that setting. So what I thought would be kind of cool is let's put all this in place, and probably in a week or so, once we're through some of these quick hit episodes, we could do some disaster response episodes and see how well this infrastructure handles it. Maybe we'll reload the save, try and redesign it a little bit, and see if we can get to better survival rates and see how that kind of covers the various disasters that may impact the city. Looks like our little nightclub spot has filled out nicely for the college students. So they've got a strip here with all sorts of leisure activities. They've also got the shelter here. And we added in research and development and the Robotics Institute. And then we started expanding this out a bit, again, with some organic and local produce options for them to do some shopping. So all kinds of stuff there. We're starting to fill out all the available zoning. We're really running out of room here. 153,000. Maybe we can push it to 175. I think my limit, I think the most I've ever done was about 170 on console. So we'll see what we can do. There's definitely little spots and spaces. There's definitely little spots and spaces we can cram some more stuff in. So we will we'll try and do some more of that on the next episode. Again, these are a little quicker than the normal videos because my wife and I are on a staycation and trying to get some stuff done around the house. So I'm trying to get some footage out when I can, trying to keep up with the dailies just to hopefully keep you entertained and informed and inspired. That's what I'm trying to do here. So if you did enjoy the video, likes, comments, shares, as always, help the channel and are greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications, because it's very easy for small channels like mine to get lost in the shuffle, especially if I take one day off. The views just drop like crazy because the algorithm stops showing you my content. So hit the notifications to get regular updates, but also check back on the channel because you don't always get those notifications. Hopefully you enjoyed. Until the next one, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.